This is Liverpool's depth chart for next season, the squad planner, if you will. In this video, we're going through every position, talking about how many players do play in that position, but also how many players can play in that position. So it gets more interesting when you think of maybe like Endo, for example. He's a holding midfield player, he plays in here, but he could also fill at centre-half if need be. He could probably do a job at right back. These are the kind of conversations we need to be having in terms of maybe where Gomez could play next season. We're going to look at how many positions across the front line Ekatike can play. Maybe if a certain striker beginning with I and ending in K comes in, Isak comes in, where does Ekatike play? We're going to talk about maybe Wirtz. Does he play deeper? Does he play towards the left? This is the whole point of a squad planner, right? You work out who can play where, and worst case scenario, how your team might look with a few injuries. And that is certainly a conversation when we talk about these centre-halves, because my word, does it look light there. In fact, we'll just start with the centre-backs. Let's just go there straight away. Goalkeepers will just bypass. Alisson will start. Mamadashvili will be the backup, and then you've got two options here. Nice options to have if anything does go wrong. Touch wood, it doesn't, but I trust the future, and the future's bright with those two there. Just some quick notes. I've left out Dan's. I think he might go out on loan. Stevenson as well. I think he might go out on loan. And he's also not part of the first team right now. Ramsey, I think, is a similar one. I think he might go. But Cetic we'll come on to that in a minute. McConnell is a young player who I think will be used sparingly this season, with certainly Nayoni over him. We'll start with centre-backs, and I mean, Van Dijk and Konate start, right, definitely. If one of them drops out, Gomez comes in, you'd like to think, if he's fit at all. I mean, the guy can barely make it through the weekend. But if one player gets injured, Gomez does come in as the first reserve. If he gets injured, then my word, we are buggered. Reece Williams, I guess. I mean, is he even going to be here next season? He played no pre-season. Like, this is not good at all. I'm going to assume Reece Williams isn't even involved next season, because I don't think he'll be particularly called upon. So I think we've got three players in here. I certainly think this. If we're really down to the bare bones and only one can play, I just think Endo plays in there. Or I think Gravenberch plays in there. I don't even think Reece Williams is trusted, to be honest with you. So let's just say, let's just do how many players could play centre-back. So there's your three centre-backs. Gravenberch could play there. Again, I'm not saying this is ideal at all. It's far from ideal. And Liverpool absolutely need to bring one in. My word, guys. Don't let us get to the start of the season with having to rely on Endo or Gravenberch to play in there. So Gravenberch can do that. He's done it before. He can drop into the back three and make a really handy back three. So he can. Endo can. He's done it a bit in his career as well. He's a really kind of aggressive defender when he does play that. He likes to step forward. Very similar to Konate. He's not very quick. He's the only problem, right? He's a very, very slow midfielder, but he makes up with it in heart and in passion. I love it. But Endo, worst case, could play there. I think also absolute worst case in a cup game, Nayoni, but I mean, that's just ridiculous because, I mean, he played there in pre-season. I thought it was very impressive. An 18-year-old lad, so mature. He's a midfield player playing centre-back. He wasn't even next to Van Dijk. He was next to, was it Robertson or Tsimikas? It's like, wow, how amazing is that? I'm going to leave him out of this because that is a real push. Like, I do not want to be seeing Nayoni play centre-half, my word. And then you look at maybe Robertson and Tsimikas as the other two options. So, worst case scenario, there's probably 7 players in here. But really, how many of them do you want to be seeing on the pitch play centre-back? 3. I don't want to see Endo centre-back. I don't want to see Gravenberch. That's the point of this, right? It's not, oh, they can play there. Yeah, they can. I could play there. You want me to play there, though, would you? They're not very effective there. And Gravenberch, if you play him there, you're losing him in midfield. That's a big part which no one's talking about. Oh, Gravenberch can play centre-back. Okay, then. Who's playing DM? McAllister? What about who's playing here, then? It's a knock-on effect all the way around the team. Just bring someone else in here. That's the massive, glaring, like, wow, we've not really addressed this, to be honest, and I hope we do bring someone in. In the comments down below, let me know, guys. Do you think we will? Do you think Konate stays? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. So I'd rate that in depth terms probably a 6 out of 10, to be honest with you right now. Left backs, I mean, you've got to give, in terms of depth, a 10 out of 10 here. 3 left backs. I know 2 of them aren't absolutely amazing. I would favour Robertson over Tsimikas. I think he offers more to the team in terms of his experience, his leadership, captain of the Scottish national team. He's very well liked. He knows the Premier League like the back of his hand. He could, in theory, play here if needed. I think he's more of a... I think he's less of a, obviously, a marauding fullback like Kirkus is and these two here. He's slowing down now, Robertson. I mean, did you see that pre-season game against Preston? That striker was in on goal. My word. He literally was probably... That striker looked like one of the slowest players I've ever seen. And he outpaced Robertson. I was like, maybe it's time. But no, he can fill in here. That was a joke. That's not disrespectful. I would still favour him over Tsimikas, but we've got 3 bodies in there. Certainly better than this side. We've only got 2, really. I mean, Calvin Ramsey, I don't know his future next season. Stevenson's played there in pre-season, but I don't think he'll feature. But then again, who could play right back, right? That's the whole point of this video. And I think Gomez could. Gomez has done before. He's also played left back, by the way, if worst comes to worst. But you don't want a centre-back, of which we've only got 3, to play at right back. Like, that's not on, surely. So these two rotate. Obviously, Endo could fill in there, worst case again. Gravenberch, probably not so much. Szoboszlai, right? Szoboszlai's a really interesting one because he played there in pre-season for a bit, and I liked him in this role, like just moving into where Trent was last season, this kind of quarterback role. He was picking the ball up there, spreading it wide to Gakpo at times. He's also a runner, like he's got, obviously his legs are just phenomenal. This man's probably our biggest workhorse in the team, so in terms of covering ground down the side, that would not be a problem. Getting forward, overlapping, inverting, it would not be an issue with Szoboszlai, making that work. I also think Jones could play right back. I think obviously he's done it before briefly, but he's got the kind of ball playing capabilities, and he also knows how to get forward, and he knows his link up with Salah. This link up I think is very underrated in our team, Jones and Salah when they play. And actually against Stoke City, if you watched it in the pre-season game, we saw a little overlap between Jones taking the overlap around Salah. Salah played in the ball and he put a ball in, and I think we scored from that. So maybe Jones could be at right back, but again, that is worst case scenario. So really, I'd be comfortable seeing 3 players in there with Szoboszlai as used sparingly in there. The only time I want to see Szoboszlai in there genuinely is if we'll talk about Salah in a bit. When he goes to AFCON, Frimpong maybe plays in here, Bradley's the right back and he gets injured. I'd play Szoboszlai in there. Maybe, or you've moved Frimpong back, I don't know. There's a bit of flexibility there, I guess, but we have only got 2 players. We'll go to midfield now, and Bajcetic, I really don't know where I'm going to put him in. I think he's more obviously secure than all these 5 here. I like him, firstly. He's had a great season in Spain, by all accounts. Really impressive. There's a midfielder, I think he's a Chelsea youngster as well, who may be on loan, and they had a really good relationship in the midfield too. If he can beat injury and come back and do what we know he can do, it'd be really interesting to see where he plays next year, because he's a holding midfielder. So is Gravenberch, and so is Endo. They're the 3 really. Yeah, McAllister can play there, so that makes 4. Jones could do a job there, I guess, but his defensive capabilities are certainly not on the level of any of these 4. So that's maybe 5. Naoni could play there as a deep line playmaker, 6. And then we even talk about Dominic Szoboszlai, because against Bilbao, I thought it was unreal as a number 6. Did you not think that? Like in these zones here, really comfortable picking the ball up in the defence. Kind of facing goal, he's amazing. Back to goal, not so much, but facing goal, like he's such a threat. And again, he does the legwork, and it's so noticeable with him in there next to Gravenberch, who maybe looking a bit leggy was perhaps his weakness last year. But with Szoboszlai next to him, it's like, my word, he's all right there. So we've actually got probably, it's like fucking it's like bloody New Year's sale around Curry's. Look at this. Everyone's in here. They're crowding in. 7 people. However, realistically, Naoni's not realistic in terms of DM. Jones ain't realistic. Bajcetic, I'm probably there, to be honest with you. But who I want to start there is Gravenberch. Who I want to start there is Endo. And I want to start Bajcetic there. They are the 6s. They should be playing in the 6 role. In terms of the midfield, like the number 8 kind of role, I do think it's Szoboszlai's best position. I don't think it's perhaps number 10. I think maybe I'm a bit of recency bias there. I thought he was that good against Bilbao. I want to see him in the centre, ideally towards the right, actually. And then McAllister's also a number 8 who starts in my team and should be in your team. A few people are dropping him, like trying to get Gravenberch, Szoboszlai and Wirtz in the same team. Like, you don't leave McAllister out. He's one of our best players. He was literally our 3rd most important player last year. So McAllister's a number 8, so is Jones. I'm excited to see Jones this year. I think he's really underrated, and I think, actually, he'll have a big season this year. He's got a big, maybe point to prove with a few players coming in, but he'll have a big part to play this year. And Naoni, really interested to see where his position in this squad lies. He's been promoted to the first team now, number 42 as well on the back, which from 98 is definitely an upgrade, right? It's almost double. So that's an interesting, almost half, I should say. So I think Naoni will play towards the left. I think Jones will play. He usually plays towards the left. Obviously, Elliott plays there. Like, Elliott can play as a number 8. He's a really interesting one because we'll even be the next year. Am I even worth doing that with Elliott? We saw the reception he gave to the fans after the Bilbao game. Everyone's obviously clapping all the players off, but then Elliott stays on and does the lap of honour, whatever you want to call it, and claps the fans, acknowledges the fans. It gives serious, like, that's my last game vibes to me. So I'm actually going to, for now, leave Harvey Elliott out of this and assume, I'm making assumptions here, assume that he will not be part of the club next year. With a heavy heart, I like Elliott, but I don't think he'll be here. As for all these players, I mean, Canate is the obvious one. Like, is he going to go to Madrid? I'd assume not. I hope not. I don't think any of these particularly are... Like, these two is maybe a split decision. Who's going to leave? Maybe one of them leaves. Even if one of them does leave, you've still got 2 men in there. That's not an issue. Not so much an issue as a centre-back depth, of course. We'll just assume. I think one of them might leave, though. And I also think Bajcetic deep down will go on loan again. I do think that. But we'll keep him in. So number 8, yeah, Szoboszlai's in here, and you've got 4 players. Obviously, Gravenberch can play as a number 8. That would come so naturally to him. Endo, maybe not so much. Bajcetic, yeah. I think we've lost Tyler Morton. who was that number 6/8. I think he played there for England, the under-21s. More of an advanced box-to-box midfielder. Like, he was getting shots away. He was kind of in this zone here, getting forward, which I really liked, actually. He's got the physical attributes to do that, Morton. Could Wirtz drop into a player as a number 8? I mean, if necessary, but I want to get him in his best role, which is 10/left 10, playmaker, whatever you want to say. So, in midfield, I actually really think, and you might think this is controversial, like, George, we've signed loads of players, we don't need any more. I think we need another midfielder. And again, if Gravenberch is forced to play here, ideally we sign a midfielder, a defender, and a forward. But we've already signed 4 players, so how many more can we sign? If Gravenberch is forced to drop in there, you need maybe McAllister drops in. But then you've got Szoboszlai and who else? Jones? What if one of them goes down? Then who have you got? So it's like, I just think in terms of depth, I want someone who can play on the right side of midfield. Maybe not a starter, maybe not spending loads of money on this player. I don't think that's realistic. But having someone in there who can cover, who can maybe play as a 6 if needed, to maybe give Gravenberch some needed rest, because last year that was definitely the most noticeable weakness of Gravenberch, was his decline towards the end, which wasn't his fault because he played so many games, he was so heavily relied on. He was never given that break, right? So for me, a number 8/6 I think is needed still. It's not an absolute priority like the centre-back slot is, and for me, like the striker slot is, they're the 2 priorities, which we are addressing with hopefully Isak. But I'd like to see it. Let me know your thoughts on the number 8 slot. Do you think we're okay? Do you think, what's that, 7 players in there's enough? Maybe, yeah. You can also, I mean, Bradley. I think Bradley's a competent midfield player. I really like him at midfield when he inverts, but I'm not saying he could play there. Right, we're going to forward line now. We'll start off the left because it's pretty straightforward for me. Gakpo and Ngamoa, like, great. I mean, that's just almost perfect. Kind of a young Padawan and the Jedi Knight, if you will, pushing each other. I don't think Gakpo will be relaxed at all with Ngamoa behind him. Like, I know he's 16, he's still a kid, he's just come from the academy, right? But this guy's hungry, mate. This guy is willing to leave everything on the pitch. He's clearly, he clearly wants to make his mark. I mean, look against Bilbao. He picks the ball up a minute in, goes, runs and scores with it. I've done a match reaction to that game. I've actually done 20 things we've learned during pre-season. I'll leave it at the end for you to go and watch. It's a long vid, it's 45 minutes, but I've covered everything from Ngamoa to all these players, so stay tuned for that one, or watch that one. I just think that's a really nice balance there, and I don't think we need to address it at all. People saying bring in Barcola. I'm not having it. I mean, he's a great player. Do we need that? Like, really think about it. Yes, Barcola. It's not a career mode. He's a great player, but we don't need a left winger. Look at this squad. The whole point of this video is we're looking at, maybe let's just move Jones to there for now. We're looking at the depth here, and that's shite. Having one player in there who could play there. Having one player maybe who could play in there. Yes, Szoboszlai can. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that is certainly not an issue. Same with left back, same with right back, same with goalkeeper, same with maybe a number 8. I don't know. It's not an issue at all. Left wing is actually one of our more secure spots, and I'm really happy with where it's standing. Also, Ikatika could play wide left. He could definitely drift into the left half space. The same with Florian Wirtz playing off the left, like a left attacking midfielder, like we saw against Leverkusen. So he could definitely drift towards the left. Szoboszlai could play towards the right. Szoboszlai is this kind of, he could just play anywhere. Such a great Swiss Army knife to have, right? If we go to the right, I think Chiesa's really interesting as to where his future will lie next year. I'm going to leave him out. I don't think he'll be here next year. I thought that since the start. I was surprised to see him come on the other day, actually. So I've got Chiesa and Elliott both leaving, in my opinion. I'm going to assume. It's my opinion, of course. It's not concrete. And I think Ben Doakes stays. I think Ben Doakes featuring in pre-season was heavy. He played a lot of games, some games up front, which didn't particularly work for me. But then again, he's never really played there before. I think he offers a great counter to Salah, a similar kind of thing to this, where you've got a young lad who's willing to get into the team. All I will say is, I think if Ngamoa has a great spell, he will get into the starting 11. I just think he's that good. But the problem is, if Doak has a great... Say Salah gets injured for one game, knock, Doak comes in, really impresses, scores 2 goals even, he's still not going to play, is he? Doak could literally score 3 goals a game for 10 games in a row. Salah would still come in the team and bench him because he's Salah, right? But Gakpo's not got that status of Salah. So I think that position's much more obtainable for the backup, whereas this position here isn't as obtainable. Therefore, I think Ben Doak might be... I know it's Liverpool, I know you want to stay and win things like with fast of the Premier League again, but I think for him, a career, like in terms of trajectory for his career, maybe another move to somewhere like Middlesbrough to get regular minutes in a championship side is better for him in terms of his progression right now. But I am happy with him playing next year. Think about this. Could he do the job that Chiesa did last year? Of course he could. I mean, I could probably... He didn't really play much, did he, right? So I think Doak in the cup games is a nice option to have. Again, you've got Szoboszlai who could play wide right. You've got Frimpong who could definitely play in here. Maybe, when Salah goes to AFCON, I like the idea of Frimpong playing in there, Bradley in behind. We saw actually that few times in pre-season. Frimpong playing there in that position, maybe with Stevenson behind, but we've not really seen the two together. I don't see why it wouldn't work. Yeah, maybe you lose the goals of obviously Frimpong. His numbers are actually unbelievable as a right wing back in the Bundesliga, but it's Sally. You're going to lose the goal straight away, but I just think you've made up for it elsewhere in the team. Gakpo's a goal scorer, Virtue bringing goals in there, Ekitike and maybe even Isak. I think for a month we can manage with Frimpong there, and also we should be conceding less goals because he's a defender, I guess, in trade, right? So that AFCON month is very interesting. We'll talk about that in a separate video, I think. So the right wing slot I think is okay. I think it's fine for now. And so's the left wing. This looks really bare, this position here. I don't think it actually is. I think when you think about Szoboszlai who could play there, you think about a McAllister who could play there definitely, you think about Ekitike who will be dropping deeper. You also think about Wirtz playing every game, like in terms of depth. If something really bad happens and he's injured for ages, then fair enough. But in terms of depth, he will be playing every game. You've broken your bank on him, you play the guy. It's not like these two where maybe they won't play every game, they'll rotate. He will not rotate with bloody anyone, he'll play every game. So I'm not too worried about that, even though there's only one bloke in there. You've got players who could fill in and play. The striker option's weird because I forgot the young lad, I forgot his name, Will something. Will Wright. He came in, obviously, he's a young kid from Salford. I guess he's an option we could play, but he's in the academy. Jayden Dans is an option we could play, but again, I don't know where his future will be. Will he be on loan maybe to somewhere like Sunderland again? Obviously he got injured, didn't he? So I've left him out of this for me. I know he played in pre-season at the back end. I do think, again, for his career, in terms of that, what's best for him, I just think a move away, getting more regular game time, getting you back in the team, maybe next year after, being more prepared, because he's good enough to play for a team, Dance, like a half-decent team. Even a Premier League side coming off the bench, lower end Premier League side, top-end Championship side, why the hell not? Did it last year. So that's where I am. Obviously, the big name is, we'll put him in here, is Isak, right? Isak's the big one, and in fact, that looks terrible. Hold on, let me do it in there. There we go. Isak, if he comes in, he offers a lot, like a lot. Obviously, Nunes has gone now. He might take 9, he might take 14. I don't know. If he comes in, he could play up front. Obviously, we will play up front. He could play in this left space here. I don't actually think he's not worth putting in either of these positions, is he? Because if he's going to play, he's going to be a striker. I wouldn't want him to fill in anywhere. It's almost like Wirtz, right? He will just play if he's available. But losing Nunes does beg the question, do we need to bring another striker in as well as Isak? Like, people are saying, well, if Isak comes in, he's not the most reliable of players, which I do disagree with to an extent. Yeah, he's had his injury problems, but he's still playing the majority of seasons. Like, he's not injured for months and months on end, usually, right? He's had these inconsistent patches, I get that. But he will play. I think Salah could fill in centrally. I think Wirtz could fill in centrally as a false 9. Gakpo was a striker, well, I guess he wasn't, but Gakpo can play up front if really thought. I'm talking about here, worst case scenario, if these are players, if we've got no other option and we're forced to play him there, I'm sure he'd be okay with it, right? I'm sure he'd do a good job like Diaz did last year. I don't know, I think we need to sign a striker, as well as Isak, just for numbers. Maybe someone who's not even unbelievable. Maybe someone like Dan's, who's got more of a future ahead of him, who could. But then again, do you just keep Dan's? If you, after a player with future ahead of him as a third choice, maybe you do keep Dan's. So we'll keep him for now, maybe as an idea or as a placeholder. So I think, signings-wise, I'm on 2. Am I on 3? I'm maybe on 3. I'm on a player who can play in here, because if you're losing Harvey Elliott, you're losing a right winger / midfielder / 8. And they're actually all the positions we're maybe a bit light on. So maybe someone exactly like Elliott who could play towards the right, who could play in the middle if needed, could play as a number 8 if needed. That's one signing in my opinion. The second signing would be a centre-back. Well, the first signing will be a centre-back. The next signing would be a striker. If Dan stays, don't bring another one in, but I think that's 3. Yeah, Liverpool have signed loads of players. Yeah, you might be thinking, well, it's unrealistic. We've signed 4. Well, hold on. I don't think so. I don't think it's stopping there, which is pretty scary. And we are doing the dealing of 2 windows in one, right? If we don't sign Isak, we need to sign someone like Dan's, or maybe a bit better than Dan's with respect to Dan's, but maybe someone who can come in and start regularly instead of Isak. And not signing Isak obviously gives us more money and freedom to go and bring in a better centre-back, and maybe Gehi, and a better midfielder in. To be honest, I don't really know. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you could sign one player aside from Isak, and aside from a centre-back, I think they're quite a tap-in terms of we agree, right? Who else would you bring in? For me, it's a number 8/number 6. If it's Christmas Day and we're spoiled for choice, we could bring someone else in. That's who I'd bring in there. Let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a vid. Nice one, guys. See you later on. Ta-da, bye.